Well, if you've been paying attention to what we were hearing on Dog Post, or really just paying attention at all in terms of college football, you knew this day was coming, and announced over the weekend that a 12-game playoff was very likely coming. It's going to take a second or two to get there, but Kirby Smart had a couple of things to say about this as well, and I want to talk about that. And here's what Kirby told ESPN. Most changes have been relatively small. With the potential of what's been proposed is probably the greatest change there's been in terms of major college football. I think he's right for a lot of different reasons. And, you know, when you start thinking about major change in college football, it's always been related to television. You could go back to 1984, Georgia, Oklahoma, Penn State suing the NCAA to have rights to have their games broadcast more than twice a year. You can talk about the BCS, which was an attempt by major college football as well as the networks to just get a huge audience, which they did do. And then the college football playoff, which has expanded it to 4 teams. Now we're looking at 12. Kirby goes on to say, I think a lot of this is going to boil down to strength of schedule. For a long time now, we've been trying to build up our future strength of schedule because it's not the losses that are going to kill you. It's not playing the best teams. We've tried to go out and schedule major Power Fives across our scheduling system all the way out with the hopes that this will give an opportunity to play some really good teams. And losses won't kill you when you start talking about top 12. You've got to have a powerful schedule to go play good teams. Well, Georgia doesn't have that problem now, but in the near future, you start looking at who they've got: Oregon, Oklahoma, Florida State, Clemson, Ohio State. They have scheduled out Texas. They have scheduled out with the notion that the 12 teams were coming. And that is something that, you know, Kirby seems to be able to see around corners. In the life of college football, he's been right far more often than he's been wrong about where the future is going. And I don't think anyone necessarily knew that it would be 8 or 12 teams, but at the end of the day, 12 makes a lot of sense, and I'll tell you why if you're expanding. But for Georgia and Kirby, this helps Georgia and Kirby. When you look at the 5 years that he's been the head coach at Georgia, they would be in the playoff if it were 12 teams at the conclusion of the season. They would have been in the playoff for the 5 years. The only the year they'd have missed it was 2006. So essentially a Georgia team that winds up with 2 losses or fewer, they're going to be in the playoff just for the near future. Probably almost any SEC team will be in that situation. This helps Georgia a lot, I think. It also helps the Ole Misses of the world and, in theory, Tennessee, who's needing a jump start, or South Carolina in 2013, a really good South Carolina team that didn't even get a chance to play in a major bowl game, just played in the Capital One Bowl. So this is going to really change college football. I think that's clear. I don't think you need me to sit here and tell you that. But when you're enjoying your Stuckey's pecan log roll and thinking about what the future will be in college football, will this take away from games like Georgia-Florida, Georgia-Auburn, Georgia Tech? I think it takes away from Georgia Tech, but the lopsided nature of that rivalry the last 40 years is taken away from that game. When you start thinking, though, that Georgia and Florida probably both will be in the playoff a lot, what happens when Georgia-Florida is on campus? What happens when Georgia-Auburn is a rematch? There's going to be on campus. There's going to be a lot that's going to be really fascinating about this thing. And if you look at the bowl system, right now there are 6 New Year's Six bowls. Look, the Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl are calling the shots. The Rose Bowl perhaps a little bit more, but it's the Rose and Sugar that are the most important of the 6. The Peach Bowl, Gary Stokan and company. Hey, Gary. Very powerful all of a sudden because they have one of the premier venues in all of college football. You know, the Cotton Bowl could say the same thing. Fiesta Bowl hanging around. Orange Bowl with its situation. But the Peach Bowl is a major player. Now this means, not certainly, but almost certainly, that the Peach Bowl will hold a consequential game that will help determine the national championship every single season. A quarterfinal, well, every single season we'll see. But it's going to be more often than not that the Peach has something to say. There's also this discussion, I'm getting ahead of myself here, of are these games going to be on campus or not? I think at the end of the day, they will probably be on campus. But we'll just see. Now that you've added the quarterfinals, I guess it would be, getting to, then you have to play the semis and, of course, a championship. This is going to really change college football in a way that a lot of people are talking about in a bad way. I'm not sure that that's the case. Do I think in the last, I think it's been 8 years of the playoff or 7, whatever it is, that the national championship would have changed? No, I don't. UCF, come on. That's not what's going to happen. But it will give teams more of an opportunity, and then we won't have these ridiculous national championship claims when 12 teams get in there. But, you're going to see 3 or 4, I don't think 5, but you're going to see 3 or 4 SEC teams every year. I mean, they're probably the 2 runner-ups of the divisions and the conference champion and the runner-up are going to go. And, it doesn't take away from the ACC basketball championship. It doesn't take away from the Big East basketball championship. I've been to the Big East basketball championship. It is electric. It's not going to take away from the SEC football championship because that game's the second biggest game in college football every year behind the national championship. The orange and sugar are bigger, but it depends on the year. So I just think if you're a Georgia fan and you're looking at this stuff and you're saying, hey, look, how can I enjoy college football more? They're adding games. This has only become about money. Yeah, that's right. The Georgia-Florida game has always been about money. That's where they could sell the most tickets, and now that's where they're getting guaranteed money from the city of Jacksonville. Money being involved in athletics at a collegiate level has been there for ages, decades, far longer than I've been around. So that there's a money grab going on here. I mean, welcome to 1970s college football. This is what it is. So let's be adults about it. I think for the North Carolinas of the world, Mississippi when they're hot, USC, perhaps Texas, teams that have goofing around at the bottom of Cincinnati, teams that are good but want to make a jump up. If you're at Cincinnati now, Luke Fickell can look you in the eye and say, we can play for a national championship here. We will play for a national championship here. Gus Malzahn at UCF, he can legitimately say, hey, we can play for a national championship here. Will they really play for it? No, they won't. But they will have the opportunity to. I want to take an opportunity right now to talk about Stuckey's and what they're doing for us. They're partnering up with us this summer. And look, if you've not been by a Stuckey's lately, or if you want Stuckey's merchandise in your store, your retail store, now is a great time. They're revitalizing a great American brand, a brand that has been associated with travel for a long time. These I introduced to my daughter, and we're having to hide them now. Those are the pecan log rolls. They are legit. So when you're talking about all this stuff, you see a Stuckey's, or you want to have this in your store, make sure you contact them. Contact me, dean@dogpost.com, and I can set you up with them. But setting this thing up, y'all, this is a matter of figuring out for sure who's hosting. Is it the Bulls? Because if it's the Bulls, yeah, the sugar, the cotton, the rose, the 6, New Year's 6, yes, you could just do it within the Bulls. I'm not sure that that's always going to work out well, and I think a lot of people are going to want to play these games at home. With that said, a home game 5 days before Christmas in Ann Arbor, I know that's a joke. Michigan's never going to be in this thing. Yeah, that's right. At Ohio State or, say, Wisconsin. You're going to play an outdoor football game on December 20th, a month after Big Ten schools typically close their season. That's going to be challenging from a weather perspective, but perhaps that's an advantage. If you're Ohio State, you're not in the top 4. You lost the championship game on a fluke play to Wisconsin. You get to earn your way in by hosting, Florida. I mean, that would be interesting to watch. I think there's still things to work out here, but if you're a hot team like Georgia 2002, Georgia 2007, Georgia 2012, are should 2018 to some degree, should you be in this thing? I mean, look at the 2018 situation. Clemson basically got a bye through the regular season. I think they played Texas A&M, who was adequate, and then they played Notre Dame, who is not good that year, undefeated but not good. Would they have beaten two SEC teams in the playoff? Would they have beaten LSU and Georgia? I don't know. LSU might be a bad example. I can't recall. Or Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky in theory in 2018 would have been a borderline playoff team. Kentucky. So that's the part that's going to be different here. For the traditionalists, I get your argument. I'm not sure I totally buy it in every way because tradition, if we were being traditional, we wouldn't have Missouri in the SEC. If this was about tradition, Arkansas would be in the Southwest Conference. If this was about tradition, there'd be 2 national football games a year that Georgia would play, and it would either be Georgia-Auburn, Georgia Tech, or Georgia and the Gators. So, it's okay to have the world progress a little bit every now and then. And, I think it's not like it's not sad, but I think, if at the end of the day, you're looking at Kirby Smart, who has been very far-sighted on this. And what I mean by that might be the wrong way to put it, but he has seen this coming. And that guy knows way more people in college football than most. And I mean, it is impressive how many people he knows inside of college football and the people that matter. He's seen this coming. That's why they were scheduling Oklahoma. Clemson. I mean, Clemson was going to get on the schedule, I guess. But now, if you play that game, that's a boost for both teams. I think it's a more of a win for Clemson, to be honest, because they're going to need to justify their existence in the top, 3 or 4. I mean, Clemson's not going to roll through the ACC forever. So they need these games with Georgia and Notre Dame. Everybody, I think this is going to grow the sport. Because we are at a time where, I wish it started in 22, not 23. We are at a time in the sport where there's people with hurt feelings at the end of years, because if you're not playing in the Final Four, then you guys are just leaving. And they're having to take care of themselves, which is understandable. But as we get closer to this thing, you're talking about 12 times 85. All of a sudden, rather than, sort of 350 student athletes who are in the middle of this thing and won't be opting out, you got 1,000. This is going to kill the non-playoff bowls. It's going to kill them. But in terms of interest, but people will still watch them on TV. They just will have no value at all. The days of the Capital One Bowl, sort of mattering are gone as soon as this happens. So, and you had bowls like the Sugar Bowl that were teetering. I mean, if you were at the Baylor-Georgia game, or even the Georgia-Texas game, there were a lot of tickets and seats, and that can happen from time to time, particularly at the Orange Bowl. That should never happen at the Sugar, and you were seeing that because it wasn't a playoff game. So I think, to me, if you're a Georgia fan, you should be excited by this. If you're an Alabama or a Clemson fan, particularly a Clemson fan because you've been able to waltz through this thing, maybe it's not for you. But at the end of the day, I think the more the better. Now, I don't think you need 16 because there aren't 16 teams that can win it. Are there 12? Probably not, but there's 64 or 68 teams in the NCAA tournament. This is a TV play, y'all. So that's all it is. And, this is about money. This ain't about the kids. Hadn't been about the kids for a long, long time. And, as long as we recognize that and understand that, we can enjoy it. But I think everybody's going to look forward to when Georgia hosts the Gators in a quarterfinal with everything on the line, or vice versa. I mean, Texas-Oklahoma in a quarterfinal, Auburn-Alabama in a quarterfinal. I mean, it is going to be fascinating the nerves, the extra boost to the local economy. Athens, hello, Athens, I love you. So there's a lot to be gained here. And for the TV networks, Disney, hey, I mean, they're going to get some competition from CBS on this one, and we'll just see how much everybody's ready to come out of pocket. Disney will probably hold on, but we'll just see. Thanks to Stuckey's. Everybody go check their website out. Dean at dogpost.com if you need to reach out to me. Thanks for listening. We'll see you over on the website.